All right, this is Dr. Boff, and welcome back to some Kerbal Space Program. I am still working on setting up my Duna return mission. I was thinking about building the escape vehicle, but a space friend of mine said that instead of just looking up the strength of gravity on Duna, it would be way more hardcore if I actually built a probe and went and measured it myself. So this is my rover. It's going to have a seat on it so that hopefully when I actually do send my return mission, a Kerbal could ride around in this rover if need be. Then I don't have to send a rover on the actual mission that contains the Kerbals. I've also bolted all the science things to it. And if I'm going to drop this on the planet, then I probably should drop some other stuff too, because I'm going to have to meet up with it. My plan is to meet up with it, so I probably drop some other stuff, maybe like a science lab and some habitation stuff. That way I also have a target to aim for with my Kerbal-containing lander, which both adds difficulty and takes difficulty away in different ways. So we'll get to that later, but for now, let's build up a lander with a bunch of stuff on it. Alright, this is what I've got. So, the rover is inside that cargo bay. Yeah, got my rover in there, and I've got a bunch of other stuff. So I've got a science lab, habitation module, and then I've bolted onto that everything I should need in my landing stage. So I've got solar panels, I've got batteries, I've got air brakes, parachute stroke chutes, and since we're going to Duna, which doesn't have a super thick atmosphere, I've also got some landing engines. I went with the Aerospike engines because they are powerful and compact, so they just kind of fit the profile better. They are not carrying around a ton of fuel. I'm not planning on using these for anything but that final landing stage. I've got some landing gear. I've got a bit of a fairing I can put over all of the lab stuff. And it's the wrong side. I've got my wonderful, wonderful rover. So this is going to get dropped onto the surface of Duna, hopefully somewhere near the equator, and then my proper return mission can meet up with this later on. Alright, this is the launch vehicle. I've decided to name this mission Pathfinder for various reasons. So this launch vehicle probably looks pretty familiar. It's exactly the same launch vehicle I used for the previous payload. This payload is notably a bit heavier, but I had so much fuel left over at the end of the last mission, I feel like this is probably going to be fine. I haven't resized the engines for the initial launch stages, so hopefully that still works out okay. I may need to try and realize and come back with some solid fuel boosters to make up the difference. Also, maybe a little bit more drag on account of various things poking out the side. But we will see if that becomes a problem. Alright, let's try for a launch. Alright, moment of truth. Let's see if my launch rocket can move this payload without any modification. Looks pretty good to me. I'm going to probably turn a little bit later because I'm worried that the drag up near the top will make my rocket prone to doing a little somersault if I try and do my right turn too early. Typically, you're supposed to do that around 10,000 meters, but I'll probably not do that. Okay, gonna start turning a little nervous. Oh, getting a little out of control. Oh, nervous. Nope, nope, nope. Nope, nope, nope. Ah, it's fine. Everything's fine. Slightly. First, gotta adjust some things. Still accelerating. All my booster stages are good. Probably the sort of thing you're supposed to check before you launch, but it's fine. A little more painfully slow on the launch this time, but we're still okay. Hopefully not too inefficient. Let's start my orbital burn a little bit early because, yeah, that engine is struggling a smidge to cope with the amount of mass I've got going on here. I'm also going to move off of prograde before my prograde vector dips below the horizon because I don't want to be burning below the horizon. Wasn't expecting that. Yeah, I definitely got partway into the transfer burn before needing to turn on the nuclear engine last time around. A little bit concerning, but we should be okay. All right, and that's a successful orbit. All right, I seem to have found myself in a little bit of a pickle in my transfer orbit. So, by unhappy coincidence, all my satellites are sitting on the far side of the sun. So, I don't get to talk to my spacecraft this time around. So, I'm just going to go around the orbit again and see how that goes. I did not bring any massive communications on this vessel. I only brought kind of medium sized ones. And everything's too far away. So let's go around the sun again and figure that out. All right, in my transfer orbit, doing my burn to get my encounter while I've got some bars. I've got some signal. Not too bad. I'll go around after I finish this burn. I'll tweak the encounter and try to see if I can tweak the encounter to swing around the equator, which will make landing a lot easier. Okay, so you can see the encounter I'm going to have with Duna. I'm going to be heading basically straight over the North Pole. So I don't really want that. I really want to land on the equator because I can land everything on the equator and get my eventual rendezvous ship up in orbit around the equator, and everything will be much easier. So I'm going to tweak the orbit. I'm going to do that by burning at the last node before the encounter. So I believe that's going to be the ascending node. So once I arrive there, or rather the descending node, I'll set up a maneuver. No, ascending node after all. So you can see the node and the encounter right here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to burn normal to the plane until that orbit crosses as close to the equator as I can get it. All right. So, with a very, very cheap burn, I can make my encounter look exactly how I want it to, as long as I burn a fair bit in advance of the planet. And the exact timing of this burn is not super important, but the exact delta V is going to be really important. Thankfully, nuclear engines make this really easy. By which I mean they're slow. Uh-oh. I've done a Kerbal space program thing where I actually activated sticky keys, which means I have no idea if I'm going to be able to um, do this last bit of the burn without screwing up. Whoa. Okay, I dare not do any more than that. Oh, but I really want to. How the fuck do I turn All right, so my plan is going to be to get rid of that nuclear engine before I leave stable orbit, which is ambitious, but I don't really want to drop a nuclear reactor on this otherwise pristine planet. So I'm just going to get as much mileage out of the nuclear engine as I can. I'll do a plane change and try to get on a orbit that matches the equator a bit more closely, and I'll bring down to a stable orbit. That's kind of as low as I can get. I think the atmosphere starts around somewhere between 50 and 70,000 meters, so I probably will set my distance of closest approach somewhere around 70K. Okay, time to get rid of that nuclear engine. We're going to do the rest on these aerospikes. So I really hope I brought enough fuel. This kind of wasn't my original plan. I was just going to kind of take the nuclear engine with me as far as it would go. But I think it's probably a good idea to leave it up here, and I'll just make do with having potentially not enough fuel in those arrow spikes. I guess we'll see what happens. Okay, here we are approaching the atmosphere right at 50,000. We've got air brakes going. Going to try and fire the engines somewhat sparingly. I'll open up the chutes as soon as the game seems to think it's okay to do so, but they're not going to do a lot of slowing me down until very late in the game, until the atmosphere gets really dense. So I'm going to have to make decisions as to when I can fire the engines. Um, we'll see. In general, the later you wait, the better, but I might chicken out and fire them earlier. Ideally, I should have a little bit of engine or a little bit of fuel left right at the end, because if I don't, then my final impact will probably be a little bit too hard. Alright, let's see what I can do with this. Alright, all the parachutes are away. I'm just gonna wait. Hopefully they go soon. Okay, I've got drogue chutes. They're doing basically nothing. I'm gonna have to fire soon so that I can at least get the drogue chutes to catch, but I have so little fuel left. Let's see. Alright, I couldn't wait anymore, but that's it. I'm out. Ah, but I got the drogue chutes to catch. Okay, so then, well, it's getting late in the game, but hopefully then the big chutes will catch. Oh, they're out. Come on. You know you want to catch. Catch. Yes, okay. All the chutes have caught. And I'm at... Oh, that's still kind of fast, though. I don't like 15 meters per second. I would like less than 10 meters per second. Not super happy about that. Really wish I'd saved a little bit of fuel. Like, I wouldn't need much, just like a tiny bit of fuel. I don't know, maybe next time around I'll bring in some like little tiny Sepratron solid fuel boosters to hit like right before impact and kill just a couple meters per second. Oh, that might be a good idea. This is going to be too fast. This is going to go really badly. I guess I could always load and try again when everything blows up. Oh, where am I? How's it going? Okay, I think everything's fine. I think it was just the heat shield that blew up. Let me take a look at everything. Yeah, I think everything's fine. Yeah, just missing the heat shield. So now I can open up the cargo doors and launch the rover. Alright, rover intact and away. And something's wrong. What's wrong? What is that on the bottom of my rover? Why is it there? Oh, crap. I don't know why that's there. Can I not drive my rover? I can kind of drive the rover. Yeah, I can drive the rover. There you go. It's gonna drive super effectively with some random bullshit stapled to the bottom. I don't know why that's there. Okay, real reason I'm here. Let's find gravity. So we've got just under 3 meters per second squared, meaning when I build my escape vehicle, the relationship between mass and thrust that I'm looking for is I need a thrust in kilonewtons. That's going to be around about 3 times the mass in tons. So much less thrust than I need to escape Kerbal per mass. So that should be pretty good. Let's see. Last thing is let's pop out to the satellite and see if I landed somewhere that has fuel I can mine. Probably should have thought about that somewhere in the landing process, but let's check now just to be safe. Alright, let's see what we got. Yeah, there's some fuel there. It's not quite one of the richest locations on the planet, but it's got something. I didn't manage to land in a location with literally no fuel, but it's definitely not a hotspot, so that's a little bit depressing. Alright, well that should do it for this week. Next time we have to build and try out an escape vehicle for Duna, which I'll probably console spawn in right by this base, and so I can test it out before I commit to building a whole mission around it. Alright, see you next week.